Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters the most to you, the small business entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sananda Jayaseelan, 2 small giants in focus tonight. First up is Wild Otters. On the other side of a break is BoAt. Our first small giant tonight is doing something in the space of conservation of wild otters, and they're named, as you would guess it, Wild Otters. Mansi Chokse traveled to Goa to really understand what this company is doing and to bring you a ground report on how this business is making profits and is bringing together researchers as well as those interested in conservation of these animals. Take a look.
We are here at Shirao Island near Panjim, which is home to Goa's best kept secret, otters. India is home to 3 species of otters, 2 of which inhabit this island. Illegal trade of otter pelts, urbanization and pollution has significantly affected the otter population here in Goa. A wildlife conservation organization, Wild Otters, is not only conserving them but also running a base camp that allows volunteers, researchers and curious tourists to know more about this semi-aquatic mammal. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Tell me something about how Wild Otters was established here in Goa and how the journey has been so far.
So otters is one animal that has not been studied very much in this habitat, and there was very little data on them in India. It's been a very fascinating and different journey because otters, as I said, are a very adaptive species. They are one species that can adapt to human-dominated landscapes, and that is one of the key things we are studying here. We are studying them outside of protected areas like national parks and reserves, and to study the ecology, what threats they face, a number of projects we are running over here.
Give me an insight into the workings of Wild Otters organization. Apart from conservation, there are other operations that you're running, and I want to know more about that.
We do a bunch of things. Now, the core of our work is focused around projects. And these projects are designed in a way to fill gaps in the understanding and data of otters around the world. So, 2 species of otters we work on. One is a smooth-coated otter and one is the Asian small-clawed otter. Both are freshwater otters, but they have adapted to these mangrove habitats. One thing is to do research, and another thing is to make it into a viable business model or a working sustainable organization. So as a part of that, we do a bunch of training programs, we run workshops, we collaborate with schools in terms of designing their wildlife curricula. We are also in talks with working with corporates in terms of how we can create some programs in the technology space. Now, wildlife in itself has a lot of interesting tech that is used, but most people think this is a very black box field.
So you're talking about technology. Let's talk about tech incorporation in wildlife conservation.
So there are a bunch of tech that is used in wildlife, and rather in any domain these days tech gets incorporated. In wildlife specifically, we use things to capture the animal on camera, so something called camera trapping. These are small devices we place in locations where we expect the animal to cross, which gets triggered by either an infrared or a motion sensor. Then we use GPS devices where we mark specific locations in terms of the signs that we have seen of the animal. Then a lot of data analysis goes into putting all of this onto a platform like Google Earth or QGIS or one of these softwares. You want to essentially map where these animals are, how they are changing, responding to any sort of changes to their habitat, and what are the problems that can be faced.
Wild Otters is running a base camp here in Charao Islands.
Yeah.
And as per what I know is that you open these base camp for researchers, volunteers, and also curious tourists. Tell me something about that.
So every office in any corporate setup, you call it an office. In the domain of wildlife or ecology, we call it a field base. It's typically in the middle of a semi-forested region. And yeah, we run programs ranging from 4 hours to as long as 9 months. So for people who are interested in to just get a glimpse of what this domain is, they can come here, we take them, they're assisted by wildlife researchers, taken into the field, taken into an otter habitat. They get a glimpse of what happens, how wildlife researchers work, what tech they use, how sign identification works. Then there are programs for longer duration. People may come here for like a month. They can stay at our field base. They learn how to execute a full project, and then going on till 9 months. So for different variety of people, we make different programs.
I want to understand more about the business part of conservation, especially with wild otters. So tell me something about the business model that you're using to make this organization a sort of sustainable.
Business model is critical to any organization. I mean, it's important that there is sustainability and there is certainty of funds for any sort of work to happen. In wildlife and conservation and research domain, projects run for 3 to 5 years typically. Okay, these are not short-term projects. So if after every 6 months there is an uncertainty of funds, the projects suffer. So it is important to create this business model, which is why we are registered as a private limited company. And a lot of people get extremely upset about this. We want to keep it a core research focused place, and our programs are also designed in such a way that they enable people to gain some skills. So we teach people some of the technology skills, for instance, camera trapping. It could be studying invertebrates in something called setting up a butterfly trap, pitfall trapping, and then advisory to other bodies. But we keep ourselves as far away from tourism as is possible, because at the end of the day, what are we trying to do over here? We are trying to do best for the animal. Now just imagine getting tons and tons of people over here. Okay, at the end of the day, we may make a lot of money, but the animal is suffering. It is getting a huge amount of disturbance in its environment, and that is something we want to reduce as far as possible.
So where to draw the line? Where exactly is the limit that a wildlife conservation organization, which also wants to sustain but doesn't want to do this, that get so many tourists at a spot like this, where should they draw the line?
So the line is simple. The line is, what are you doing your core work for? You're doing it for the animal or the environment. So as long as that is not getting compromised, you continue doing your activities. Just to give you a very simple example, when we go out into the field, we do not typically take more than 2 or 3 people on any field survey.
Okay.
That is simply to reduce disturbance, because no matter how quiet you tell a group of 7 to be, there is going to be a huge amount of noise, and it's just disturbing to the habitat.
Since we are talking about ecotourism, I want to understand that the promotion of ecotourism in India is at a very nascent age. How can this be promoted more, and what are the government policies that are in place for this?
There are definitely a few things that the government can do, and if I have to say a couple of things, one is basic sanitation. If the government can just focus on keeping things clean, if there are just a sewage treatment that's coming from industrial waste, if you can just keep all of this clean, that's a huge benefit to the entire ecosystem. A second thing that's extremely important is in terms of rescue and rehabilitation centers are very few for wild animals. That is something that is sorely missing, in India. The third thing, and this is I think the most important thing for wildlife domain, is that people who are actually working on this, especially from the government side in the forest department, are adequately trained. They should know about the latest technologies. They should know the ecology of the animal.
Right.
And they should have people who are experts.
So what is the future looking like? What are the different projects that you're looking forward to for Wild Otters?
So currently we are working on a multitude of projects, and the future is rather good. So otters population has increased over the last 25 years in and around Goa. Wildlife conflict is also rather low. We are working on a project, for instance, called an environmental DNA project, which is collecting DNA samples from across different areas and then analyzing them for otter presence. We are working on den analysis, so we study what time otters come out of the dens, what times they go in, some of the ecological behavior. We are studying how human habitations, so we are working with another company doing aerial mapping through the skies for a year-long duration and doing ground surveys. So we want to map how aerial changes, which means say cutting down mangroves in one part, is affecting otter movement on the ground. Plus we are also venturing into more species. So we are already working on a couple of projects on civets and porcupines.
Okay.
It was critical to us when we went and spoke to a lot of people. People used to ask us, why otters? What's so special about this animal? And the time and effort it takes you to convince that person is a lot, which is why we are focusing a lot more on community ecology also. Most species show that one action of us anywhere can affect a multitude of species as opposed to one. And there are just huge data gaps in all of these species. There are just a bunch of things that need to be addressed, and yeah, we are focusing on all of them.
Thank you so much for taking out time to talk to us on
Absolutely.
the show. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break on that note. BoAt is in focus on the other side as our second small joint. To stay tuned, back in just a moment. Our second small joint tonight is with BoAt, a brand that deals in fashionable consumer lifestyle products. Shreya Sarvadhikari spoke with this company to understand pricing, to understand the USP, to understand most importantly marketing and branding when it comes to this very niche segment. Take a listen.
With the aim of bringing affordable, durable and fashionable audio accessories, BoAt, a consumer electronics brand for millennials, has carved out its own place in a sector dominated by global giants. BoAt's growth story has been majorly driven by its distribution partnerships, trying to give its buyers an immersive experience of its products.
Aman, thank you so much for joining here with us today.
Thank you, Shreya, for inviting me.
You design your products in India, but I believe that you manufacture them out of China. That's a contract manufacturing which happens in China.
Yes.
How do you assure control over quality?
Quality, we have a team here in India, we have a team in China, and they work very closely with the manufacturers, contract manufacturer out of China.
Sure.
Designing is primarily because we are a brand which is not primarily an electronic brand. We are a lifestyle brand. So design element has to be taken care of. Our designs are made sometimes by ourselves, sometimes with collaboration with somebody. Like last Lakme Fashion Week, we did a small collection, exclusive collection, which was launched with Kunal Rawal. That is co-developed, co-designed with Kunal, right? And those designs are very contemporary, very modern. We are also, we had before that at the Lakme Fashion, we launched a collection called Trippy Collection.
Okay.
So designs are very critical for us. That is what differentiates us from the number of brands available in the market. Quality is something which we can't ignore, right? So these consumers are ready to give you a try, but if you don't give the right quality, they will never buy you again.
Right.
So if you look at our reviews, if you go to Facebook, if you go to Amazon, if you go to Flipkart, there is one product which has got 2 lakh plus ratings at a 4.2 rating. That talks about our quality. That talks about the fact that quality is it's an ever improving and ever, it's always a cycle where we keep improving quality. If our rating goes below 3.5, we'll discontinue the product, whether it's selling well or not selling well, because then if that goes to another consumer, he will not recommend it to his friends, his peers, right? So, and as I said, that BoAt, that community, they talk to each other.
Right.
So quality, I cannot take a chance of giving them bad quality.
The company is projecting a growth sales of 500 crore in the next 5 years. How do you plan on reaching that target?
That will happen. There is a lot of consumption happening today. A lot of people call it the geo effect, right? The data has become so easily available. I used to get an SMS a few months back from my provider that you have consumed 80% of your data, and to buy more, pay more. Now I get every month and I get a message from the same operator that you have not used your data and we've added it to your next month's cycle, right? So because of that, there is a lot of OTT platform which is going up. A lot of content on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, and people are watching content on their mobile. You look at Hotstar, you look at cricket, how that is also evolving, sports is evolving. So for that, you need personal consumption devices, right?
Sure.
With the mobile, with the smartphone penetration, mobile ecosystem will also keep growing. Trends will keep changing. ASPs are going up. Our ASP from last year to this year has gone up 30%. That is for the fact that people are ready to experiment. The technology is improving. People are ready to change their earphones or headphones every 6 months.
Sure.
Today, one consumer doesn't only buy one product. He will have a different headphone for gymming, different headphone for probably his TV time, different for commuting, different for communication. So, it's like FMCG, we call it the FMCE market, where it is evolving. Every 6 months, I see a repeat purchase.
Right.
So there is a lot of repeat happening, and there are a lot of people who are coming from the unorganized, unbranded sector to the brand sector, right? The consumers. And that is where the evolution will happen. Then again, there is a change happening that true wireless is coming in, right? When they have, wires are going out, and then true wireless will be the next big thing. Yeah. So there is a lot of demand, and we have not even done anything, right? We are starting, as we say. I think we'll reach there.
Aman, as a young entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges that you had to face while establishing this brand?
That's a very good question, and challenges were there at all areas. We had challenges right from starting up. When we were in the market for products, the contract manufacturers did not, the good factories. In China, there are a lot of factories who will make for you, but there are good factories who will work with only good brands.
Sure.
So to tell them that we are doing something different and this is what we need, this is the quality, this is what India needs, this is the sound we need, because sound was also a big challenge in India because the trend was changing towards EDM. EDM is like strong, when the bass drops you need a different sound. So India has a very specific specific sound, and that is what BoAt sound is. So to get the manufacturers to adapt to what we want, that was a challenge. Then retailers never trusted us initially. The offline retailers, they thought that we are also one of those brands who come and go, like a few years back. And to tell them that we are different, it was a challenge. To get the first set of consumers to trust us was a challenge. To get the money to do all that was also a challenge. To get the team also is a big challenge, because when we started startups, now people don't mind joining startups. But at one point, few years back, people were hesitant to join us because they were not, there was an employee who left us also. There was his family said that to get married you need to be with a bigger brand.
Okay.
And now he's back.
Okay.
So there are a lot of things. So there are a lot of challenges which we face, whether it's for finance, whether it's for resources, whether it's for team, whether it's for consumers. Everything was a challenge. And still is.
So talking about the big brands, there is a lot of competition in the market.
Yes.
In terms of JBL and other global brands which are there.
Yeah.
So how does it affect a brand such as yours, and what makes you stand out in the crowd?
Brands are here to stay. Brands will keep coming. Brands will keep going. Every month I see a new brand coming and and an old brand which was established a few months back going, which I'm talking about the new Indian brand probably. Global brands will keep staying. There are people who will buy global brands. There are people who will buy them for what they are. Some people like legendary old sound. Some people like there are these 70, 80-year-old brands which have their own legacies. They have their own processes. They have their own audience. But there is a new India which thinks differently, right? If there is a consumer today who is looking for something stylish, something which is logically priced, which is more, which resonates with his personality,
True.
right? That is where he goes for BoAt. BoAt, we claim ourselves. So one of our product is called base heads. Okay. It says that it is about bass. So it automatically reduces a lot of people who don't want, who want cleaner sound. No, we are not for them. We are for our bass heads. We are trying to create a cult which follows us, and that is what is happening. There are these people who are buying us for what we are.
How are you pricing your product? Is it a competition about pricing at all with the other big players?
So we don't, in price, it is a race to the bottom, and I don't want to win that race. Price, we were never on price, because I have seen a lot of old established Indian players in different industries who are not able to survive the Chinese onslaught on price, right? So I think price is something which the new consumer doesn't care of. You cannot have exorbitant prices also, but you cannot only sell on price. Gone are those days. People will not buy you on price, because maybe our brand is not on price. We don't fight on price at all, because we will die. We will not be able to survive. We are an EBITDA positive company. We wish to remain there. Our reason for not having the right price or not having the low prices, that, as I said, that we don't want to win the race. And we know we're not super luxury. We want to give logically right prices to the consumers. So if you look online, if you go to offline, or you see the products, for that price, you will get what you're paying for BoAt, you may get 2 of the competitor products. But we will never fight on price. We don't fight on price. That's not the DNA. We fight on style, sound, and aspiration.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, Aman, and wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much. We need that luck.
That's our show tonight. If, like either of our small giants, you want to be featured here on the show, our contact details up on your screens in just a moment. Do get in touch. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.